Well, hello and welcome to all of our viewers from around the world. I'm Fiona Lang-Sharp, IBCLC Director of Communications and MC here at Gold Learning. Well, I'm excited to tell you that we are talking about our Gold Lactation Online Conference 2022, and we're talking about one of our keynotes is here with us today, who is going to be live on May 9th. Now, I want you to mark that on your calendar right now for good reason, because everybody can come and join us and listen for free on that day. And it's going to be a worthwhile session. We're going to get into all of that in just a moment here. But please welcome everyone, Jeanette, Mesite, Frem, who is here with us today, and going to be talking about I think it's a really poignant topic, because this comes up all the time, Jeanette: fitting flanges for pumping, rethinking sizes and materials. So we'll talk about that in just a minute. But Jeanette, welcome. It's so good to have you here today.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm honored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd love it if you'd introduce yourself, tell folks a little bit about where you are in the world, and we kind of want to know what's going on with you right now. What are you doing day to day?
So I'm Jeanette. I live in central Massachusetts, and my practice is I have my own office in Northborough, Massachusetts, and I started this road of being a IBCLC first by being a birth doula and a breastfeeding counselor and a childbirth educator, and eventually, I also had my own children, and I pumped and breastfed with them, and found pumping painful, and we'll go into that when I actually do the real talk. But yeah, and I just have really, I don't know, I didn't mean to get into such a focus in my practice about pumping, but
Hmm.
as I've been doing flange fitting, I found that it made a big difference. And so I do more and more of that. But I also still teach childbirth classes, and in person, a lot of them still through the pandemic, which not every moment of the pandemic. But yeah, and I love travel, and I love seeing what other people do, and I love getting to know what other lactation professionals are doing around the world. And this has been a very exciting topic to discuss, because more and more pumping has become more popular.
Yeah, and I think it is an art for sure. I find that, in the discussions that we see online about pumping these days, there's a lot of perhaps disagreement still. Jeanette, is that the case for you? Is that what you see?
Yeah, I do see, and I think it's a culture, we're human, and our instinct is to be like, "Ooh, well, that's not what I've heard, and we only know it this one way, so we should stick to with what we've known." And
Uh,
I'd like everybody to sort of just open their minds and think about a new restaurant or a new pair of shoes. Sometimes you have to try things out before you actually can find out, "Oh my gosh, that is so much better." Or and once you start working with some new tools, that you find out that you can really make a huge difference in your clients' lives. And I think, all of us do this because we're passionate about it, and we care about people and families and helping babies get more human milk. So it really, it saddens me when I see people say, "Oh, that's ridiculous.
mm,
The 24 and the 28s are all we need." And then you just keep going bigger. And, I'll talk about it more in depth in my
sure.
presentation, but, that's just because there's really no reason for that. And that's just because what we've always had. So now we have new tools, and I'm trying to help people branch out and try new things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, and I'm one of those people, I'm just like everyone else sitting, listening, that, I have the same, type of practice that I've had for many years. And it takes me time to go, well, this has worked great, for all this time. But then I go, but has it? And we've learned so much in so many other areas. I think the limitations that we have on lactation, again, the research, the common ground, the continuing to work together collaboratively, debriefing on these sort of topics. And I can honestly say that, I don't know if every now and again, we sort of talk about flanges with colleagues and such, if we have a problem, but what about getting really into it and examining it again? I mean, I think it's a perfect time, and it's almost like the perfect storm, because like you said, more and more people are venturing into pumping through choice, through request, through wanting to work, through wanting to, just have other ways to support, giving human milk to their babies. So I think we're at the right place, right, Jeanette? I mean, I know I'm preaching to you, the choir here, and I know you're always advocating for this, but it's been a little bit of a slow build for a change here, I feel, in our networking, correct?
It has. And I think part of that is because parents will oftentimes say, oh, it feels fine.
Mm-hmm.
And as professionals, we look at that and we say, oh, she's comfortable. There's no damage. And look, they're getting plenty of milk.
Mm-hmm.
And not every parent is getting as much milk. And so instead of
Right.
labeling people, oh, they have a low supply. Well, maybe they wouldn't have a low supply if we actually had the right flange. And of course, I think more people in our community, we've spent so many years focusing on the pump. And
Mm-hmm.
I still see that conversation and even pump companies that I've talked to, well, what about the pump and how many milligrams of mercury? And which one has enough vacuum or does it have too much? And I'm like, I actually don't think it's as important. Of course, there's varying purposes and qualities of pumps, but it depends on the person. And if we don't try new things and sometimes try different pumps, that's a whole other conversation. But I think we just go, oh, well, there's not a problem here, so let's not try and fix it. When what I've
Right.
noticed is even with people I work with who are not complaining of pain with pumping and who already have an oversupply, they're already donating.
Mm-hmm.
That when I do a flange fitting with somebody and we find the right fit for their left versus the right, they oftentimes are like, "I had no idea I could feel nothing when pumping. I had no idea I could feel this comfortable. I just feel a gentle
Mm.
tug." And I've never seen so many sprays. I've never filled the bottles that fast. Now, that doesn't happen with everybody,
Sure.
but to be able to at least make that effort to say, "Okay, well, we've gotten this far." And there's such a myth in our lactation consultant culture of
Mm-hmm.
the size of flange, and it shouldn't touch the edges, and bigger is go bigger, bigger, bigger. And I've got my theories on why that is, and someday someone out there, maybe in Gold Land, will say, "Oh, yes, let's do a study together." And I would love
Sure.
to really kind of document with some scientific methods, in a lab setting of how these things work and what's going on with the hormones. But there's definitely, and also looking into what's going on with cow and the dairy industry. We all know that so much of the lactation, knowledge has been taken and we sort of twist a little bit in our culture of
Mm-hmm.
humans, and we go, okay, well, in the dairy industry with cows they do this, so it must be similar, but it
Right.
also must be somewhat different. And in going to a dairy farm and getting, I actually have a flange that they use on cows and learning more about how that is, it's really fascinating. This pretty much the same size flange that is used for all cows is the same standard size for human pumps. Makes me wonder.
Ooh.
Really? I thought the human breast was not the same thing as a cow teat
Mm.
and whatever you want to call
Wow.
that bigger part. So, I've looked at the history of where did this sizing come from since the first patent for a pump and the history
Mm-hmm.
of that. And that's been a surprising area that's really pulled me into a rabbit hole of looking into the patents and what has been happening with that and why and
Yeah.
who. So it's
Yeah.
really
Wow.
fascinating.
Just dropping that right there. That's
That's a whole other
definitely,
talk.
it's a whole other talk. Well, thank you. I mean, I think, I'm looking forward to really stretching myself in this area for sure. Um, where I work and live, there are many families who they don't have to pump, but they choose to pump. It's choice, which is again a privilege, in their lives, but still having the option, having the right fit is going to be so important. I'm looking forward to just actually taking something from your presentation and applying it. So I hope that's going to happen, right? You're going to give us some tools that we can put right into practice and start reassessing what we're doing.
Absolutely. And that's what I've been hearing from so many of my colleagues is that after, hearing these things in conversation with me, that, and I'm not the only person talking about this topic, but that this is something they can change in the next week.
Right.
And so much of the things that we learn in lactation, sometimes I think their background information, you're like, well, this is lovely, but I could never say this to anybody. So what do I do with
Right.
this information?
Yeah.
And there's other stuff where you're like, well, I don't have the scope of service to do that. Who do I refer to for that? And
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
helpful too. But
yeah,
but this is something that you can get these items, you can try them, you can say, hey, who wants to learn something or try something new? And there are people in our communities that are like, sure, play with me, I'll do it.
yeah,
And then you can just watch things change before your eyes. It's pretty cool.
yeah. Excellent. Excellent. Well, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much. I know seeing this presentation already, it is jam-packed, so much good content. I mean, I want to hear it now. Can we do it now? No. Okay. We got to come back. What was the date we marked on the calendar? May 9th. All right. May 9th. Um, And so all of you listening right now, there's an opportunity happening that you will be able to come and listen live on May 9th. All the times are up on the website right now at goldlactation.com. You'll be able to check your local time, all right, in your time zone. It'll be available. It is going to be up twice. So Jeanette's going to be with us here all day, and she's going to record this twice in that day. So for everyone around the world, it will be recorded too, of course. And we love it that we give this access to everyone registering for the event, and of course this free event as well. But come live, because this is going to be a really mighty good conversation. That's what we're going to say about it, right? Lots of discussion. I think maybe even some debate, of an understanding of what is available. And yeah, we're going to put Jeanette on the spot and ask her all the things that she has learned on her journey over the years too. So we're looking forward to seeing all of you there. Thanks so much, Jeanette. It's always great having you here at Gold.
You're welcome. It's always good to see you.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you to all of our viewers once again for coming in. You can head over to goldlactation.com right now, and we'll look forward to having you come and join us for our opening keynote on April 4th. And of course, with Jeanette on May 9th. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us here today, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye for now, everyone.